The members of the Peralta Community College District's Bond Program Management Team are here today to share with us information on how Measure G bond funds are being spent across the district. So this $1 billion bond program, approved by Northern Alameda County voters, facilitates major capital projects and infrastructure projects throughout the district, including the College of Alameda, Laney College, Merritt College, and Berkeley City College campuses. So I'll let all of you all introduce yourselves since that's part of our agenda. So thank you for being here.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity for us to present to the Uptown Oakland Rotary. I'm actually a member of the Rotary number 3 in Oakland, and I know many of you came from there. So congratulations on being one of the newest Rotaries in the area. So good for you all. I'm Shonda Scott. I am CEO and founder of 360 Total Concept, a small business based in Oakland, and we are part of the AECOM program management team for the Peralta Community College District's bond program. It's a $1 billion bond program, and there is a 25% small local business participation requirement, participation goal on the program. So we're trying to get out in the community as much as we can so that businesses can know about the opportunities to participate on this voter approved bond measure. Today's presentation is part of our Community Partner Series, where we have an opportunity to update the community on how that voter approved bond money is being reinvested back in the local community. I'm excited to see that the Chancellor, Interim Chancellor, Dr. Jackson is here with us. So Dr. Jackson will provide the welcome. I'll do a brief introduction of Dr. Jackson. She's not new to the district. Peralta formerly was first a vice president of the College of Alameda, and then became president of the College of Alameda. She went on to be a chancellor in another district, came back here, and has done tremendous work and leadership in leading this district in Peralta Community College, implementing leadership on the accreditation and district-wide technology and distance education standards have been raised, and has helped to implement a comprehensive institutional planning and review process for the district. So with that, I will, and also Dr. Jackson is was served in the United States Army National Guard and is a retired colonel. So I always take this opportunity to thank Dr. Jackson for her service, not only to the community, but to our country as well. So with that, I'd like to open it up for Dr. Jackson to provide a welcome on behalf of the Peralta Community College District.
Thank you very much, Shonda. I am going to provide a brief introduction, and then I will turn it over to our AECOM partners, and they will introduce themselves just so we can get started. I know we have a limited time, and there are some things that we really want you to know what we're doing in the district. So as Shonda said, my name is Jeanette Jackson. I go by Dr. J. I am also a Rotarian in San Marcos, Texas, which is just outside of Austin. I went to school at University of Texas, Austin, Hook 'em Horns. And we're not doing that good this year, but hopefully next year we will be doing better. So this is my makeup for my meeting. So I'm passing on that I attended this Rotary meeting as my makeup. So thank you for inviting us. I've been with the district since April 15th of last year. And the introduction is just to give you kind of a background and a backdrop of where we are now. So in June 2006, the voters in the northern region of Alameda County approved Measure A by a vote of 74.7%. And then in November 2018, the voters overwhelmingly approved Measure G by a vote of 75% in favor to the Peralta District's request for $800 million for general obligation bonds. The bonds are to facilitate improvements to the facilities and new construction, as well as upgrading our technology. The district is really indebted to you and the members of the Alameda County community for its support. We're grateful for your continued support, and your hope and trust in the community has been placed in us, and our mission which is to provide accessible, high quality, higher education, also career training and workforce development. So with that, we're creating opportunities for our students and our community to change their lives. And I might just mention that most of our students are first time going to college. So about 60, a little over 67% of our students are the first in their family to attend. So we have one of the most diverse areas in the region. So I just wanted to put that out, that you're not only helping businesses, and that's why we come out to let you know what we're doing, but also individuals within our district to enrich their lives. So on February 4th, 2020, the Peralta Board approved an agreement with AECOM Technical Services to oversee the completion of Measure A, because we had already approved that, and we were working through that, and also for the duration of Measure G. AECOM provides program management services that allows for continuity of our Measure A, and also as the startup and the management for our Measure G. We wanted to make sure that we get the most bang for the buck, and by bringing AECOM in to help us with those services, we are doing just that. They oversee our design build, which you may have heard of, and also our design bid build projects. We do both of those. So again, I want to thank you for, on behalf of the district, the Board of Trustees, as well as our students, our faculty, and our staff. And I would like to turn it over to Sharon Serrano so she can give you just a brief presentation of where your tax dollars are going to as part of our bond. So with that, Sharon, if you'd like to, I guess, share screen. I'm not sure if you have the ability to do that. And as you can see behind me, my staff developed a Black History Month. I'll turn a little bit to the side so you can see it. So again, thank you for doing that. So, and thank you, Shonda, for arranging this and helping me to make up for missing my meeting this week with my own Rotary in San Marcos.
Can
Well,
we find her? Can we find
No, you
her though?
can't. They've already fined me. I've already paid my fine. I've got to keep those dollars local.
Exactly. Thank you.
And just so you know, we just finished a celebration of our 100th anniversary. So you are just starting, and we just had our centennial celebration. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sharon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. And I just wanted to make sure, Shonda, did you want to go over the agenda before I begin the presentation?
Sure. Thank you, Sharon. I want to go over the agenda, and I also want to acknowledge that Tiffany Knuckles and Ramesses Heads are here, part of 360, and the team that's part of the outreach for the bond program as well. You've had the welcome from the Chancellor. Sharon will provide a program overview, talking about also the program cash flow, showing some of the projects where they are to date and the timeline and schedule moving forward. And then we will have a commitment to local business utilization, where I'll come back and talk more about how the voter approved bond money is being spent back in the local community, and opportunities on how you can be certified as a small local business and help the district meet its small local business participation, and talk about some of the outreach that we do and how you can stay in touch and stay connected with the Peralta Community College Bond Program. With that, I'll turn it back to Sharon, who is the Deputy Program Manager for AECOM.
Hello, good evening. So my name is Sharon Serrano. I work for AECOM. We're part of the program management team. And I wanted to highlight the fact that I am dual-hatted. I'm the Deputy Program Manager as well as the Design Manager for our team. So as a quick overview, I wanted to talk about the bond measure. As Dr. J has talked about previously, this bond program consists of two bond measures, Measure A as well as Measure G. With those two added together, that will included with federal as well as state funding, that equals the $1 billion worth of bond measure funds that we're moving forward with. So at this point, we have sold $115 million of GO bonds. That was done last year in May of, or 2 years ago in May of 2020. Time is going by really fast. 65 million of that 115 was from the last tranche of Measure A, or the last series of Measure A. And that added with the 50 million as part of Measure G equates to the 115 million that we are using at this point in time. Next slide, please. So just a general overview of the organization of the management team. So first and foremost, the program manager reports directly to Peralta. Beneath us, there are 3 CM firms. Each campus has a CM firm, which is a construction management team that is basically boots on the ground that will handle all the projects within that campus. As you can see, Berkeley City College has Kitchell, Laney College is Swinnerton Management Team, Merritt College has the Kitchell as well, and then College of Alameda has Roblin. Next slide. So as a quick overview of the program itself and how the dollars are being spent today, currently we have $77 million worth of state funding in place. That is being used, or actually we're using the bond measure to leverage the state funding as well. It's a 50% match, approximately 50% match. So we try to use our bond dollars to get as many other funding sources that we can. We also have federal funding for one of our projects. Included with that is we also have $129 million worth of contract commitments to date. We are pushing as many projects forward as possible. 15 major projects are underway, and that's throughout the district. But this presentation, as you see, will be focused on Laney as well as Merritt College. $115 million bonds issues, as I spoke to you on the previous slide, and then 51.2 million of that 115 has been expended to date. There are also minor infrastructure projects which deal with HVAC, roofing, elevator, upgrades, and so forth, which is also included in there. But I wanted to focus on the major projects that we're moving forward with, which are the major 15. So some of the major projects, there are renderings on the right-hand side of the presentation. Laney College shows a theater project which will be modernized. There's an existing building that we are going to remodel. Berkeley City College, as you can see, that is the new building that's going to be on the corner of Center and Milvia. Merritt College, that is the Child Development Center, or what we call CDC, because we like to shorten the names of everything to make it easy. And then, of course, College of Alameda, that is the the new auto diesel building. Next slide. So this table, as you can see, is basically breaking down the amount of money, the 115 million divided by each college. It shows the budgeted numbers allocated to each college based off of not only the Measure G and the Measure A totals, but it also tells you the current amount of money that is spent to date. Next slide. So I wanted to focus on the cash flow to show where and how the money is being spent. Currently, Q1 2022, we are showing that the expenditures, or the spending of the 115 million, is gradually increasing. We will see major construction starting this year as soon as we get approval from the state chancellor's office to go ahead and bid this work out. And several of our projects are currently in the design phase and waiting for the Division of the State Architect, or Department of the State Architect, to approve it. So the Department of the State Architect is our planning department. They're equivalent to the city planning department. They provide the oversight for all K through 14 projects. They're known as DSA. That's the acronym for the Department of State Architect. And at that point, once we get those approvals from the State Chancellor's Office, as well as the Department of State Architect, we will start bidding work out and moving forward with construction. We foresee it soon in the coming months. Hopefully in Q3 and 4, you'll see a sudden spike, as you can see on the cash flow. We do plan for a bond sale this year, and we're just trying to coordinate that with the start of bidding. Next slide. So I wanted to focus on Laney College campus. This rendering is of the new LRC, which is the Library Resource Center. And it's currently in DSA. We're waiting for DSA approval. And hopefully it's going to provide a new entrance to the Laney campus and beautify it from 7th or 8th Street, depending on which side of the road you're coming from and to. And this is the front of that building. Next slide. So what I wanted to focus on is the projects that we have at the Laney campus. These are the capital projects. As you can see, this graph shows the projects in a priority order and how they're moving forward. On the left side, on the right side, it shows a schedule. And what we do and focus on this type of schedule is not only do we focus on the design, but also the timeline for the approval from DSA, construction and procurement. The key is on your upper right-hand corner, where it tells you where the status is of these projects. But I wanted to highlight a few things. So we also provided a list of the total project cost and what is basically budgeted for that particular project. And as you can see, we are moving along, and hopefully construction will soon start in Q3 and 4. So first and foremost is that currently we have the portable modular village that is currently under construction. We hope for it to be completed about the end of March, and that's complete closeout. We are experiencing some issues with supply chain, so we had to wait a little bit for some fire alarms to be completed, but the buildings are there and we're ready to move forward with moving the locker rooms into those spaces so we can move forward with the locker room renovation, which is the second project on that list. We have the architect on board. We actually are moving forward with a design build where the architect and the contractor are a single entity. And I apologize, I should have highlighted the fact that the DBB versus the DB behind the project names stand for design bid build, which is a traditional method of procurement, and design build, the DB, is where the architect and the contractor are a single entity moving forward. So the next project is the East Bay Mud water main. So as part of the LRC project, we have a line that basically crosses a portion of our project, the building itself. So we had to relocate that particular project. We also have a central utility plant project where we are building and upgrading their central utility plant and some new cooling towers to make the HVAC system function on the campus because it is centralized. And then of course, I showed you a quick rendering of the Learning Resource Center or Library Resource Center, which is in the front of, front of 7th or behind, depending of 7th Street. And then later in the future, which we're waiting for state funding to be approved, is the Student Center and Culinary Arts. And of course, lastly, is the STEM building, which we are going to be moving forward with design build. And we're looking at procuring that design build and the criteria documents in Q2 at this point. And that will start the process of looking at what the campus needs are and looking at what this building is going to look like. Next slide. So this is Merritt College. This is their Child Development Center. This is looking at it from the front. I should have included a map of the campus so you can see the placement of this building. But I just wanted to tell you guys that this project is funded with partial state. It is partially a child development center, a teaching component, as well as a facility to help to include, I'm sorry, lost the train of thought, apologize. Not only include a teaching facility, but provide childcare facilities as well. Next slide. So for Merritt College, we have the Child Development Center as the first project. It has been approved by DSA. We are looking for the state chancellor to approve the project so we can move forward with bidding. We hope to see that in the near future, weeks, hopefully 2 weeks max, and then we can go ahead and bid out the project and we can start construction immediately. Construction is slated to start in the summer, or hopefully if we can get the approval from the state chancellor, maybe beginning of summer. And then the next project is the Horticultural Center, which will, will replace the existing Horticultural Center. At this point, that project will also include an interim housing project where the existing horticultural educational program will be moved into portables while their horticultural center is being rebuilt. Next item is the Science Allied Health, or it's also known as the Barbara Lee. There were a few rooms, labs that needed to be completed in that building. So we're coming back and upgrading them and finishing them off. Included in that Science Allied Health Center, there's a specific space for a Barbara Lee archive location. So that is also part of that. And that's what you see as underneath the Science Allied Health building.
And
The next,
I was just going to mention that in the Barbara Lee building, which was dedicated, I believe, a few years ago, what Sharon is talking about is not just an archival center, but also a cultural center for events that can be held. And if any of you have not been to the Merritt College campus, we have a soft opening that we do have classes on campus now. Even if you just drive up there, it is such a panoramic view. You can see all of Alameda, the island. You can see all the way over to the Bay Bridge. And so the Barbara Lee Center is right there. So we're hoping, I just signed the contract for that, for us to move forward, Sharon, today. So I just wanted to put that out. Okay.
thank you. And then the next three projects, the locker room gym, the renovation of Building D, and the demolition of Building A, is all dependent on state funding, and it is considered our second wave of projects. As you can see, there is a clear distinction between the first wave of projects and then the second wave of projects. And with that in mind, with state funding, it all depends on the state actually passing the next bond measure. And hopefully when they do that, we can move forward with these projects as well. Next slide. So I want to basically turn it over to Shonda Scott to talk more about the local businesses.
Thank you, Sharon. As I mentioned before, on the bond program, there's a 25% contracting dollars, small local business participation. To count as a small local business, your firm must be located in at least one of the cities in the Peralta Community College District. And that's Alameda, Albany, Berkeley, Emeryville, Oakland, or Piedmont. And those are the cities that approve the bond funds for the capital program. If your business is based in one of these cities and is certified by an agency and meets the revenue size standards listed on the slides, or if you know of someone who has a business that meets those requirements, your firm could help us meet the small local business participation. So we would look for you to go online to build.peralta.edu and go under the doing business section. And there's information on how to get registered as a vendor at Peralta. Also information if you're in the construction industry on getting pre-qualified and getting registered for a program called CUPCA, that is low bid. Not low bid, informal bidding for projects under 200,000 or less for contractors. And there's a lot of other information. All our outreach information is on there, as well as the Build Peralta Academy, in which we have technical assistant workshop programs to help small local businesses navigate on the bond program, but then just in opportunities on public work projects. And that's all online at the build.peralta.edu. You can change to the next slide. Thanks. Also, to ensure that the community knows about contracting opportunities, we have regular 6-month look ahead meetings, outreach meetings. We also have the information on the website, and we have matchmaking sessions, and that's where we have virtual sessions where prime contractors, usually larger contractors and small contractors come together and meet for teaming opportunities on the district project bond program. We've hosted several of those for the Berkeley City College project, and we'll have another one coming up in March on that project that will focus on electrical trades for the Berkeley City College West project. And the Build Peralta Academy is what I mentioned before, is also where we have the technical assistance workshops, and those are monthly. And if you haven't attended and you miss one, we have them online, the past sessions, and we have another one coming up on, I believe it's March 16th, and it'll be on estimating how to create an estimate that is cost savings. So these are tools that small businesses don't often have access to. And so the Build Peralta Academy is the district's way of having this technical assistance program offering to small businesses, but all businesses are welcome to attend. And there are virtual sessions and available online after the sessions have been completed. And next slide. And this is just the ways you can follow. We also have social media in addition to the website. So we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn under Build Peralta. So follow Build Peralta on all the platforms to stay engaged on what's happening on the different campuses in the construction and also on the programming side, but then also a contracting opportunity and other outreach meetings that we have. We also host them on the social media platforms to keep the community engaged throughout, in between us having formal outreach meetings and coming to you for such meetings such as this community partnering briefing. Next. So next we will open it up for any questions that you may have. That's the end of our presentation.
I have a question. Do these allotments contain any funding for ongoing maintenance after these projects are finished?
Sharon, you want to take that question about?
It really, I'll try to
okay,
address
thank you, Dr. Jackson. Okay.
that also. And the answer to that, the short answer is no. When we put projects together, what we do is what they call total cost of ownership. And total cost of ownership is where we look at not only what the building is going to cost in terms of erecting a new structure, but what are going to be the ongoing maintenance costs. And so the district has to absorb those costs out of its general fund. The funding for that usually comes from the state, but it really depends on what's in the state budget at the time, and it depends on who is a governor at the time. We've had Governor Brown, former governor of the state, who was, as well as his father, was very supportive of community colleges, recognize what community colleges do for our community. We're not the proverbial colleges that people, are part of a, like Cal Berkeley or USF or even Cal State East Bay. We have 113 community colleges throughout the state. But if you added up CSU, you added up the UCs, We serve more students than they do. Excuse I have a new puppy, so you'll hear his barking in the back because he wants me to play. So that's one of the challenges that we do have is as we bring on these structures, we do have to build in the costs for the total cost of ownership of that and to include the maintenance costs. And we've been fortunate in the last several years, the budget has been good at the state, and we've received what they call deferred maintenance dollars. But again, we want to make sure that we have a sufficient reserve. So if that money goes away, which it has in the past, some of you might remember 2008 when we went through a recession, and California was pretty close to bankrupt during that time for a lot of different reasons. So the short answer again is no, but we build that in recognizing that those funds are not guaranteed from the state. Any other questions?
What kind of uptake have you had on, I mean, you're out looking for partners within the local community. In today's environment, nothing is certain. How are you doing with that process? And if you are challenged, in what areas?
I don't know if you want to speak to that or not, Sharon. I would say we are looking at the commitment of our Board of Trustees extends beyond just the bond program in terms of buying local, letting out contracts for services local. So in that sense, we're doing very good because there are a lot of business here, small businesses here. We have a preferred vendors list where people submit their applications ahead of time so that it's not a time crunch, and they can do that. And if they get on the preferred vendors list, we try to rotate the services around. So we've done very good on that. We are currently in negotiations with the building trades, which is we call it a PLA, project labor agreement. And one of the points, to be quite candid with you, has been on small businesses. I think I heard someone when I came in earlier say the rich keep getting richer. And that's true in our area too. Some of the large project management companies, Swinnerton is one of the larger ones. We kind of have to say, you can get the contract because you're the general contractor, but we build into it that if you're doing electrical, look at small businesses. Your subcontractors, when we do bids, I think Sharon talked about that a bit. When we do bids, we build into the bid process so you get additional points toward being awarded that if you include subcontractors. And Chandra is an example of that with AECOM. We went out to bid for oversight organization like AECOM, and they won the bid because they brought in small local businesses. So like 360. So we're doing okay. We're not great, but like everything else, we have those challenges. So.
Got it. As a follow-up question to that, how is the construction costs affecting what you are able to do? Because someone in that area where I work with a lot of contractors, it's amazing what you can't get for what you used to pay a lot for.
Sharon, we just had an update on that. I think a couple of days ago. You want to speak to that in terms of what the inflation rates are with lumber and just your basic commodities, and it's excessive. I can't speak today. I've been talking all day, so excuse me. It's almost 9 o'clock my time. So I think that we've had some challenges because of the cost of materials. But I think we just had an update from AECOM on that. So Sharon, could you just share? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but in general, what we're experiencing. And because of that, we've had to adjust some of the things that we thought we would be able to do because the building costs have gone up. So.
Sure. Okay, so what we have seen in escalation in the past, I guess, year has been a little bit, um, I'm just going to use the word haywire, right? Um, depending on the month that you look at, there could be a 16% escalation, and then another month shows 0, another month shows 5. So what we have done with the bond program, and as I shared with you earlier, we have 2 waves of projects. The first wave, as you can see, majority those capital projects are moving forward. When we go through the downturn and relook at that second wave, it allows us to reevaluate the budgets that we set for all the projects. And we can reassess how the escalation is going to affect us in the long run. We have reached out to several of our associates throughout the country and asked about their, as well as Southern California, Northern California, so we can see how the escalation is affecting projects along the way within their area. And some of them said that escalation hasn't affected them at all, but they bid the work out at the end of last year. And when we were looking at the escalation, we were looking at it at the span of January of last year to the end of December. And we saw that it was going up and down, and it really depended on the day. And so what we ended up doing was putting a certain escalation amount in every single one of our projects. So it'll carry us to a certain point. And then if our bids come in higher, we reassess the entire bond program and take a look at the tail end of the bond program, which is the second wave, and see what we need to do with those particular projects to make sure that our first wave of projects move forward and complete.
And I want to just mention, it isn't, it's part of your question, but then again, it isn't. We are part of, well, part and parcel of how we do business is really grounded in planning. And so we do what we call our 5-year plan. We do a 3-year plan, and we do what we call an integrated educational master plan. And sometimes it's called a strategic plan. We're in the process of doing that right now. And so when Sharon talks about the projects, with COVID, we are reassessing, do we need to build as many physical structures, or do we need to use that to invest in technology and smart classrooms? So we are going to be having a charrette, which is really inviting the community to come to Peralta. Either it's probably going to be hybrid, some face-to-face as well as online. So that you can share with us things that you would like to see us build into our systems and our planning structures, and how we can integrate that into our curriculum. So that will be coming up this spring. We will make sure that we send out announcements, but I put my email, I thought it was on the slides, but maybe it isn't, but it's real easy. It's jjackson@peralta.edu. So if you would like to be added to the email list, so that when we get ready to hold our charrette, that you're invited. There'll be several strands that you could focus on. One is going to be for sure on curriculum and workforce. One is going to be on environmental. We just signed an agreement with 100 Trees, Alameda. And so that environmental sustainability is part of our mission statement that the board just adopted. That'll be a thread. The other will be on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and the arts. Now it's called STEAM, STEM and STEAM. The arts have been added. And so we'll be looking at our career and technical programs. So it's something for everyone. And then also, how do those facilities, what are the facilities that we need? What type of infrastructure do we need to support those initiatives? So I am encouraging you to be a part of that. We are part and parcel. That's why we're called a community college. So we're not just a research institution. We're not a teaching institution. That is really for the 4-year. We are career and technical and transfer. Those are, and workforce development now. So with that, if there's no more questions.
I had one other question.
Mhm.
I think it's related to your answer. As I was curious, what were the priorities or metric used to determine which projects were going to go forward with these funds? One, and two is there's a difference between purchasing and investing, and I'm wondering how you determined these projects to be investments as opposed to just buying a fancy new building.
Okay. I'll try to answer. I wasn't here during the Measure G, but I was here during Measure A. I started with the district in 2004 as a vice president and then became the president at College of Alameda. So I was here almost 9 years, really almost 10 years, 9.5 years before I went over to Chabot, Las Positas. So I know what we did with Measure A. I can speak to that. And I'm sure it isn't much difference with Measure G. The state requires us to have a rolling 3-year project plan, and we submit that to them on an annual basis, and it projects out 3 years. To develop that plan, we seek input from our participatory governance bodies, which is our faculty, which is our classified professional staff, as well as our administrators. So it goes through what we call a program review process, which means that we look at all of the things that are needed for a particular program. We look at facilities, we look at technology, we look at human resources, and we look at equipment. And we put those together. And when I say we, I mean the colleges. Each of the colleges goes through this process on an annual basis, and the input and the results of those planning sessions and those projections and priorities are incorporated into a plan that we submit to the state. Some of the factors that we look at is the number of students that are in the program, what will be the impact. Is it a career field that is growing? As you know, technology, the Silicon Valley is just down the way. So we look at that. We look at the cost that might be associated with that. We look at it if the state has bond money that can do matching, so we can leverage that if it's going to be a facility. And then we look at the needs of our community, and we look at our educational master plans. And like I said, we're just now getting ready to go through that process again. But those are the things that really bubble up from the bottom, as it were, and move up to that 3-year strategic plan that we submit to the state. And then the state has another process where it looks at everything that has been submitted, and it goes through a factor analysis based upon a program called Fusion, which I won't even get into because it's very detailed, and I'd be talking for the next 20 to 30 minutes, but they look at something else. They look at feasibility, they look at how does it fit in the state's master plan, and they look at who was funded last. If we've been funded before, we aren't on the top of the list. And then they do a prioritized list, and based upon the money that they get from the governor, they go down the list. And if it's matching funds, we have to have those funds to match to do that construction. So I know a long answer with the backdrop of 2 plain dogs. And again, I apologize. It seems like they always do that when I get on Zoom meetings.
I did have one more question regarding the Modular Village. I think I'm just kind of curious, is that something that's for students in the at Laney College? And, I'm aware that there's a lot of financial impacts that the students of Laney College experience. I think even Oakland #3 was helping with distributing food prior to the pandemic. So is that in relation to like housing for students?
Well, this last year, because of money that was set aside by Governor Newsom, for housing insecurity and, food insecurity. He gave to the community college, our system office in Sacramento, about $2 billion for projects on housing. We submitted a request for all 4 of our colleges. They're currently going through a process of assessing those bids. I don't think we're going to get one for all 4 colleges. Laney, we had to rank our requests. Laney was number 1. Because we think they have the greatest need. Number 2 was Merritt, because Merritt has the space to be able to put in the housing. And number 3 was Alameda and Berkeley, because it is downtown. There is no place to erect housing. In Berkeley, we would have to purchase from someone that might have a building or warehouse or something, or space that we could buy, was number 4. So I just contacted, we had a legislative meeting 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact, and I discussed with our representatives, and really Senator Skinner is the one that is on the higher education subcommittee. I met with her chief of staff, and we were told that the Department of Finance should be making a decision in March about who is going to get those funds. And Oakland number 3 did reach out to me. I've met with them twice. They have initiative to reduce housing insecurity and homelessness. So I am working with them, because if we do get the fee, this is for a feasibility study. It isn't money to go build. It's a feasibility study. We do that first. And then if the feasibility study looks like we can actually build housing, either modular homes or small, tiny houses, because we do have a construction program at Laney that does build tiny houses right now. So we are teaching people how to build tiny houses if they wanted to be an entrepreneur and go out and set up their own business. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, that we will be one of those college districts that get the funding for a feasibility study, so we can move forward with that. And I've got the commitment from Oakland 3 that they would be willing to help us as a partner. And that's how we were going to deal with it. It's not going to be a single, the state's going to give us the money, and of course it goes away. And we're looking at transitional housing, and not only look, if we do get the funding, but I've also been approached by a local business, small business entrepreneur who wants to expand our culinary arts program. So if we get the housing, how do we feed the people that are in the housing? We could use our students to provide that so that they get real life experience. And we don't just look at culinary arts, we look at a hotel, motel management. And so we expand our program. So it looks at catering, it looks at management, it looks at culinary arts if you want to cook. And so it's exciting to me, but we've got to get the seed money to get started. So that is also going to be one of those threads, entrepreneurship, that will be part of our strategic planning. So I hope that if you're interested in providing some guidance to us, please let me know, and I will make sure you're invited to our charrette.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I also want to give a huge thank you to Tiffany for helping coordinate this presentation. I know it was a struggle to kind of get on the calendar, and we had like a couple of roadblocks, so we had to move it around. And as a thank you to our speakers, I'll be presenting y'all with a gift. We are donating vaccines in your name.
Thank you.
If you don't know, our mission in Rotary is to end polio now. And so
absolutely,
we'll be donating vaccines in your name as a thank you for your time and making this presentation.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.